We're here at Mirror Lake Trailhead here in Mount Hood area of Oregon. Today we are doing a 9.2 mile, 1,700 foot elevation gain hike. We're going to be ascending up to Mirror Lake, and then if conditions permit, we're going to go all the way up to the summit of Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. We start at 3,600 feet elevation. We'll be hitting Mirror Lake at 4,100 feet. We'll be circumnavigating Mirror Lake. And then if we can get to the summit, it's 4,997 feet. Let's get going. I'll also add that I am wearing a Yaktrax summit because this is icy as heck. I would not attempt to do this without Yaktrax or Microspikes. So we're going up about 500 feet to our first waypoint, Mirror Lake. We'll be doing a circumnavigation of that. It's a pretty small lake, so that's just a few tenths of a mile. That'll be segment 1, 4.2 miles. And then hopefully, conditions permitting, we'll go another 5 mile out and back up to the summit of Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. The summit is 4,997 feet. So this entire hike is subalpine. We will never step foot in the Alpine Zone. The Alpine Zone is 5,000 feet or higher, and our summit is at 4,997 feet, so 3 feet short of the Alpine Zone. Nevertheless, will be quite gorgeous here in classic old-growth Mount Hood National Forest. Very beautiful area. First section's a bit paved. I'll be honest, I don't like the paved section. It gives it that touristy feel. I like it once you get to the dirt. This is a hyper popular trail right next to government camp, right next to Mount Hood ski bowl. So this is for the masses, paved asphalt pavement. So eventually we'll get into the proper forest, and then it'll kind of have that classic wilderness feel that I personally enjoy. But right now we're just going down the paved section. And look at this, we've got our first scenic bridge going over the creek. Definitely has an epic winter wonderland feel to it. Oh, this is gorgeous. Let me stop here. Ooh, look at that, it's beautiful. We come over here. Oh, that is delightful. Got the bridge with this old forest growth. And let's continue along. Epic bridge creek crossings. So we just did one of them. We're doing the next one now. You'll get some nice views from the bridge when you look down on the creek, the crick. Oh, this one's barely a trickle. Stop and take a look. Not much going on here. More kind of like stagnant water. Can't even really tell that that's a creek, but in theory, a creek runs through it. And we're entering the more epic forest proper. Man, this is icy. This is super icy. I'm so glad I have Yaktrax Summit. I would not even try this. And this is not a paid endorsement. I have no endorsements. But nevertheless, I'm going to mention a product if it's awesome. And Yaktrax or Microspikes, got to use them on this one or you're up a creek. Not in a fun way. Still kind of has a dark feel. It's because it's right around sunrise right now. Just getting started on this hike. About 7:10, 7:15-ish. Something kind of cool and spooky about this area. I'm digging the vibe I'm getting from this place. The ambiance. So this area could go horror movie very quickly. I think it's a combination of the still pretty light, ice everywhere, these old growth kind of spooky trees with moss on them, and quite beautiful, I gotta say. Digging it. And here's our third bridge. Again, a very minor trickle. Nothing too crazy. Down there, very dormant. Kind of good mosquito breeding grounds, to be honest with you. Not a concern this time of year, but probably wouldn't want to be on these bridges around June unless you're looking to donate some blood. Beautiful old growth classic forest. This entire hike is subalpine, technically. That is barely a trickle. Barely a trickle. That will be heavier later in the winter, or should I say more end of winter, spring. We're on to our fifth bridge. They definitely were not shy with their bridges in this section. 5 pretty cool bridges in a relatively short period of time. This one's got a little bit more of a flow to it. Let's take a look. Actually, at Running Creek, it's got that relaxing sound. Look at that. Not really raging, keeping it real, but pretty. And here is our sixth bridge. It's a bridge-laden area. Come over here and see. Yeah, again, minor trickle. Giving us a little bit of that relaxing nature sound. Here is bridge number 7. Again, a very minor trickle. Nothing too crazy. By my count, this is number 8. 8 bridges so far. Stop here and go look at the creek. I always like to come to the edge and get the perspective from the bridge. That's always going to be your floating over water look. Very pretty. Again, there's nothing, I wouldn't say these are epic, like by a wilderness standard, but they're pretty. Huge chunk of this so far. We're still kind of in the first mile, but the huge chunk has been sheet of ice. So this would literally be impossible without proper footwear, without proper traction control device. So I wouldn't even risk it if I were you. That's highly dangerous. Another exposed icy section. The sections that are underneath the tree canopy are obviously more exposed, so they're going to be more weathered, more ice and snow as we navigate up the forest. Now we're getting up to the forest proper, where we're going to turn and ascend through the forest. This is, up here is where the real elevation gain will start occurring. This would technically be our 9th crossing, although I'm not going to call this a bridge because there's no railings and not any flow to speak of. More of an old growth trickle, I'll call that. And lo and behold, bridge number 10. This one's actually got railings. I'll stop here and look at that, that's beautiful. And let's look over the railing down on the trickle. But I think the prettier side is frankly over here, look at that. This is one of the raging creek sections of our 10 bridges. Absolutely beautiful. closer and closer to our Mirror Lake viewpoint area where we'll circumnavigate it. They decided to put a fence on that section for safety. Interesting to note, there's a lot of other switchbacks I've just climbed that didn't have fences, but for some reason I guess that was deemed a higher danger one than others. So I would bet, because a lot of people like to skip across and cut the switchback, but if you do that right there and it's slippery, you could hurt yourself. That would be my guess. This is a very beautiful old-growth classic forest. You know, it's funny. I grew up in Oregon, so I'm used to this. Kind of my own backyard, so to speak, literally and figuratively. So to me, this is normal, but I have to remind myself, if you were born and raised in Oklahoma or Midwest, then you're not used to seeing old-growth forests, and it's probably pretty spectacular. And it is pretty spectacular, but I think we have a tendency as human beings to seek out the new and unexplored. So for me, I like the pine-based ecological dryer system, Central Oregon and Eastern Sierras in California, sawtooths in Idaho. To me, that gets me going because it's different from what I grew up with. So maybe the novelty of it being exciting seems to speak to me. So everything's relative. But nevertheless, I do appreciate the old-growth forest. I find a lot of beauty in it. I hope horror movies haven't ruined me, because a lot of times I get out in these old-growth forests, kind of shadowy, dark light, and start thinking about horror movies. But definitely has a cool vibe here, which I am enjoying. If you're looking for alpine hiking, I'd go do Timberline Loop. I do that in summer though. Best time to do that is August, September. Mosquitoes are dying down, and you can access it snow-wise. I wouldn't try to go up there in December unless you're going to ski. And lo and behold, we have reached our Mirror Lake area. A little bit of a cool log crossing. Just cross this beautiful log. So I continue to hike along. I didn't film across there because with my Yaktrax, it was actually a little dangerous to try to walk without holding on to anything. I didn't want to fall, so I crossed it safely and looked back. Safety first, second, third, and fourth. Fifth, maybe sixth, even seventh. When you get up to Mirror Lake, you can turn left, cross the bridge, and circumnavigate the beautiful lake, or you can keep up to Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain off the two-stop and circumnavigate this beautiful lake. Look at that. That is beautiful. Keep giving you some looks. A bit iced over. You can see on the edge there, you can see a little bit of water. I have found a shoreline access of the frozen Mirror Lake. You can come down here. Look at the incredible beauty of Mirror Lake. I'm here standing on the shoreline of this frozen over lake. Still a little bit of flowing water on the shore. Up there is Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. We're going to be summiting that. This is our first waypoint, stopping at the lake. To show you that beautiful shoreline point I'm at right now. You can walk right on the lake if you want to. I'm not going to do that. And safety tip, never walk on a frozen lake unless your goal is to get hypothermia and die. So I will not be doing that. But soon I will be up to the top Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain up there on that ridge high above, looking down on this gorgeous frozen lake. I will continue to hike along. This was a little shoreline shoot I took. Give you some views of this frozen over lake that we're circumnavigating. So we're doing 9.2 miles today, 1,700 foot elevation gain. This is our first waypoint. We decided to stop and circumnavigate this beautiful lake, frozen over. Give you some more views of it. Mirror Lake in all her splendor. It's a pretty small lake, so it only adds about 0.2 to 0.3 miles to circumnavigate it, so I figured why not? A little lake, frozen lake eye candy. And then we'll be getting back on our main trail and climbing up to Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. Summiting that sounds more daunting than it is. It's only 4,997 feet, so it's subalpine. We're actually 3 feet below the threshold for going into the Alpine Zone, which is 5,000 feet. So we will be doing an entirely subalpine hike today. Here is a panorama of our frozen lake. A little bit of a log to hike across here. Love the sound of that trickle. It has a mesmerizing feel. As we cross the icy log. Definitely getting our old growth forest on today. I live down in Madras, about an hour south. This was about an hour 9 from my house. Sometimes I come north and experience the wetter ecological footprint of the old growth forest, and sometimes I go south, southeast, and go to Central Oregon and get the drier, pine-based ecological footprint. But getting our old growth forest on today. Look at the beautiful Mount Hood as I continue along. Take another look. Oh, that is so beautiful. Got a white, snowy glow of Mount Hood. We got the frozen Mirror Lake. I'm currently circumnavigating the frozen Mirror Lake as I continue to hike along this frozen board. Got my Yaktrax Summon on, or I would not be able to do this, it's too dangerous. And let's go to the very edge of the frozen Mirror Lake. While I'm doing this, I'm going to capture some views of the mountain. Look at this. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I'm walking right to the windy edge of the beautiful Mirror Lake. And look at that. Absolute magic. That is the beautiful Mount Hood and our frozen Mirror Lake. This is incredible. Look at this beauty. I'm looking at a frozen lake. This is Mirror Lake, and the beautiful white glowing Mount Hood. This is incredible. I'm currently circumnavigating this frozen lake, doing a 9.2 mile hike, a 1,700 foot elevation gain, and wanted to stop and kind of appreciate and enjoy maybe one of the best views of this entire hike, the beautiful frozen lake of Mirror Lake and the beautiful, incredible Mount Hood. The sun is hitting it just so, it's glowing. It's almost blinding when you look at it. It's so beautiful. As we finish our circumnavigation of Mirror Lake, let's turn on our junction to Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. We are officially entering Salmon-Huckleberry Wilderness. Show off the beautiful, expansive view of Mount Hood National Forest. Gosh, this is beautiful. Ooh. Look at the beautiful Mount Hood. Oh, that is gorgeous. We're currently ascending to the top of Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain Summit and turning around and looking at these epic, gorgeous views of the glowing, effervescent Mount Hood. Let me pan over and show you this expansive, sprawling Mount Hood National Forest. Oh my gosh. As I continue to climb on my trail, we're currently ascending to Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. We've made it through that exposed boulder section. Pretty expansive views of the mighty Mount Hood. We continue along with our Yaktrax summit. Stop here and pan around again. Give you the beautiful, expansive Mount Hood National Forest. Watching my step because this could be a little dangerous. And I'll stop and pan again. Oh, this is beautiful. Continuing along Tom, Dick, and Harry Summit Trail, walking through a beautiful snowy forest, Mount Hood National Forest. We are part way towards the summit, about 1.1 miles up, about 400 feet up from the last junction. Got about 1.4 miles and 400 feet up to the top. Got a pile of rocks there. And we're getting some peaks of the sun, which is very beautiful. Oh, there's sun. Oh, it's gorgeous. We look back at this pile of rock. Not sure why that was created, but nevertheless, it is there, a landmark. It's kind of nice to have the sun peeking in on our winter wonderland as we ascend Mount Hood National Forest. Kind of brings a whole new element of beauty. See the true vividness of these green trees we're hiking by. I'm a big fan of hiking early in the morning, like sunrise, for temperature management, safety, minimal traffic, etc. But one of the collateral damages, sometimes you get a drearier experience because of the lack of light, because it's sun isn't up in the sky, the fireball has not taken its position for the day. So kind of nice to get the sun starting to do its thing as we're ascending Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. I gotta say, it's really nice to have the sun out. Perked me up. Been climbing in the shadow of the ridge for a couple hours. I didn't realize how much the sun was gonna just kind of make me snap to attention. It feels good. It's a pretty exposed section, so it's pretty snowy. Kind of a weird mix of terrains at this point in the year, end of November. First mile was pure ice, and we had a tree canopy with really just dirt. Now we're getting up towards the summit and it's back to snow. I'm gonna get a variety of everything on this hike, but definitely all the traction control device is Yaktrax Summit or Microspikes. I'm an admirer of the unique ecological footprint of every forest. It tells a story, the history of that forest. Like the fingerprint on your hand. Getting up to the summit zone. We are within tenths of the end of the road. And look at this. Expansive views. This beautiful area. As we continue to hike along, climbing to the summit, Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. Look at these views. Oh, got Jefferson off in the distance. We just climbed to the top of the summit of Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain. I'm 9.2 miles and 1,700 foot elevation gain. We're looking across at the white, effervescent, glowing, glorious Mount Hood. This area is beautiful. Panorama of all the forest horizon we're enjoying. Absolutely beautiful. I'm here on Tom, Dick, and Harry Mountain Summit Trail, actually descending this beautiful mountain. Just got to the top, 9.2 miles, 1,700 foot elevation. I will stop and just take advantage of this incredible view of Mount Hood, that glowing, effervescent white, marshmallowy goodness. Absolutely beautiful. Mount Hood National Forest Central.